Hello everyone, and welcome back to Drifting, episode number 18. Wait a second, what is this? Oh, yeah, right. Sorry, one second. I knew I was going to forget one thing. I forgot to unmute the music so it was probably coming through for all of you guys that it wasn't, everything was silent for me. So, it's been a little bit of time. It's nice to be back. We will have a little bit of an intro because I want to tell you guys bits and pieces that are going on, prepare you for the future and for everything, and also tell you about my lovely time I had last Monday. And then we'll do a little bit of a recap into what has happened previously and on drifting, and then we'll just get into drifting. To let you know, this one's going to be an interesting episode. We're making it work essentially. We're going to do a couple of hours live, and then we're doing a little bit off stream recording as well. So the final episode will have a little bit extra than this live show. So that's that said. Secondly, thank you everyone for your patience over the last couple of weeks. It has been a while since we've managed to get a drifting done. Last week especially was a really rough time because I had horrific tooth pain. I had to go to multiple dentist appointments, some of them emergencies. I had to take a surprising amount of painkillers and drugs. And yeah, essentially it all came about because I had sudden onset pain like a couple of hours before the show, and just escalated from there. I am recording, by the way, so I did remember to record. And yes, so next week and the week after, we're missing a couple of people. So we are going to be having a special two-shot D&D show, which is a precursor for a planned show I have in the future at some point. The cast members are going to be Tess Ashka. Hey Tess, thank you for saying yes. Also, a couple of familiar faces. We have Tashnar and Josh rejoining us. Yes, I did ask Vandy if she would also come back, but she's unfortunately too busy. We almost had a part Sunkiss crew going on. And finally, our fourth cast member is going to be Elbel. If you haven't seen her before, she's recently joined the pool of cast members, which are 95% women apparently. There was a point when I was looking for cast members. I think it was Peachy I messaged. I'm like, do you have any dudes you can just bring into the channel? I just
dudes.
How times have changed.
All in caps lock. I was like, Peachy, find me men. I need men. But yeah.
Messages to quote out of context. It's the plural that really makes it like work.
Yeah. So I need a man. Yes. We're going to be doing a two-shot. It's going to be called Keeper, and that's the cast members. So it's going to be 2 episodes. And then after that, we're going to be back to drifting. Hopefully until the end. The plan is to hit to about 24 episodes. So we've still got a few more left. I saw a couple of people, panicking that drifting was ending. It's like, not quite yet, but we're getting there. Yes, aside from that, we have Sorry, my brain's gone blank now at this point. Aside from that, we have, if you want to support the show, the Patreon. Go check that out. Twitch subs are appreciated. Any other type of support is appreciated, but the main support comes from the Patreon, and all of that goes directly into paying the cast and paying for art and basically everything that goes into making a show. So if you're interested in basically making these shows happen, a little support there will do. Yeah, if you're torn between a Twitch sub and jumping on the Patreon, I think it's actually more beneficial to like be like a $2 patron than a $5 Twitch sub. Anyway, so aside from that, we also have a show coming on the 10th of June called Dragonriders, which is going to be very interesting. I'm not doing the cast announcement or anything yet. What I will tell you guys is that we have a really fun cast. It is going to be a short, around 8 episode campaign, and the system that we're using is completely custom. I built it myself because I wanted to do some specific things. And aside from that, all of the players will be playing both a dragon and a dragon rider character. And they're not playing their own, they're playing each other's. Which, yeah, so, you know, for example, in this scenario setup, like, Tess would be playing the dragon for Safi, Safi would be playing for Amelia, and etc. Plus, you don't want to talk to, you know, if you're talking to your own dragon, you don't want to have to do both sides of it.
Safi would make the most chaotic dragon ever.
That would be amazing. I actually would love to see that.
I'll tune in and find out if I'm in the cast or not.
The additional to that, which is also going to help promote my Patreon just a little bit more. When we finish drifting, I will release the basically setting and all the world, like the setting details and everything. If anyone wants to create their own story within the setting of drifting, it'll be available to patrons in kind of like a little module pack. It won't be super detailed, you know, it'll just be the framework that I used to create the show. The same thing will be true for the Dragonriders. Essentially, once that show's over, on Patreon, I'll release like a little package, so you'll have the rule set and all the details, and that'll be available for patrons to download and, you know, check out and use if you want. So, having said that, shall we get into drifting? A little bit of a recap first. So last time on drifting, last couple of episodes on drifting actually, we were on Colton's farm on New Ulfin with Ma and Pops and Rose. It was Rose, right? Am I wrong there?
He was first.
Yes, Rose.
Trust.
Who we found out right towards the end was Colton's ex-wife, which I think some people were surprised by. And essentially the crew had been taking a little time out, things had been quite hectic, and at the end of it, they were told they had a job to basically ferry around some officials on a kind of, I believe I have the, yeah. So the trip you're going to take is to Sarandon, Praeoris, Nifnafar, Sycharis, and you'll be stopping at Sycharis. You're going to be picking up a small group of Cornerstone people. and they're essentially going on a, let's call it preaching tour of the systems. Basically, giving speeches, a one-nighter here, a two-nighter there. So you're going to go on a little tour of all the planets, those planets, and yeah. As some of you may have noticed, Astrid is here, even though...
No, I'm not.
Okay, as some of you may have noticed, Safi was here. Even though Astrid did head back to visit home, her family, and where she came from, which did we say, Safi, where... I can't remember if we mentioned where she was going or not.
I think we did.
Well, I'll say it now anyway. Astrid is heading back to the Terra Firma station, which we may get a little bit more info in, seeing as Safi is here. And, well,
No, I'm not.
no, Safi's not here, but Safi could be here at some point.
There we go.
So, we will start off with everyone back on the ship. Where we left off, essentially, the ship was heading towards one of the stations orbiting up above New Ulfin, and going to meet a contact of Colton's who was offering them this job to transport the Cornerstone people. Now, I kind of feel like I don't think either Kareen or Nomi would have been going out to greet them and to organize with the broker. So what will happen there is Romy and Colton will head off themselves to go and pick them up and bring them back to the ship. We have a little bit of time with Kareen and Nomi, essentially on the ship. You don't have much to do aside from your everyday, run-of-the-mill things you usually do to keep the ship going and to keep all the plants up and existing.
Rip orange tree.
Rip orange tree.
Oh,
Everything else is going, off pretty well. You've got like a section for the like oxygen, the proper oxygen generation and kind of backup atmosphere, let's say, and you've got a nice, good hefty chunk of garden at this point where you are growing food and just enough to supplement journeys and trips. One of my questions, because it's been a little bit of a time, I feel like it's worth just having a bit of a check-in and seeing how the characters are doing. Because obviously one of the difficult parts we have is we travel distances over a long period of time. Sometimes it's like, oh, Kareen lost one of her best friends who she thought was dead and who turned back up in her life like only a couple of episodes ago, when in fact it was like a month plus ago. So Kareen, we'll come back into you in the cockpit, probably just kind of kicking about in the chair.
Yeah.
You've been on the farm for a good few days, a week, maybe? And
That was an interesting place to be. Seeing Colton with his family, with Rose.
you chased pigs.
Yeah, there were pigs and seeing Astrid riding one of the cows. That was something else. It was all very disconnected from what to me feels like the real world, like being in space, being in this world that we know.
A little surreal.
It was almost, yeah, it was like almost like a dream.
Yeah.
And now it's like we're coming back to the real world, which is sometimes not so easy.
One thing I will say is, out at the farm, there wasn't much in the way of population around. It's not something that affects you heavily, but when you're in a station like this, everyone's cramped together, it's a lot more populated, there's people all over the place. You don't get like a deluge of, emotions, or, it doesn't really work that way. When comparative to the farm, and comparative to times when you're out in empty space, being on stations, being on planets, it does feel a little oppressive to you. Just like there's almost like a pressure of stress, and I don't know, if you've ever lived in a city, you may get that vibe, like you live in a city.
Yeah.
You can feel the population all around you. You're just like a little extra.
100%. Yeah. I grew up in a city, and Corinne grew up on a station with a lot of people, and she was really used to it. Like it was a thing she never even really thought about.
Yeah.
But everything kind of changed after everything that happened. So now she just starts to feel a little bit like almost claustrophobic without
A little bit restless.
really without realizing that's what it is. She just feels uncomfortable a little bit, like this low grade kind of stress that's just there.
Looking forward to getting these people on the ship and back out into space again.
Yeah, although I'm a little concerned because, we know something about these people makes Nomi uncomfortable. We don't know the details or anything, but we know that she's not too thrilled with this mission, right?
I don't think she's expressed verbally.
No, she would have hidden that.
You probably picked up a tiny vibe occasionally. I'm not sure you probably picked up a little extra, kind of coiled spring, vibe with Nomi when you've been in the garden. But I'd say, most likely, that the cornerstone connection is something that you might be playing with as an idea, but it wouldn't be too solid in your head yet.
Yeah, maybe it's just kind of lumped in with that little low-grade background stress that's just kind of there.
Yeah.
And I don't even really know where it's coming from. It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little on edge. I'm actually actively staying away from drinking nitro for a little bit because it's just gonna make it worse. Still drinking coffee, but not nitro.
Okay.
And yeah, just sort of chilling on the bridge, making rechecking sensors multiple times. Like I have OCD. Just a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. And in terms of the past few months, how's Nomi settling into the kind of revelations and loss that she's experienced?
I mean, Corinne.
Sorry, Corinne, yeah.
Okay, I was just double checking because I was sure if we were switching. I think she's trying not to deal with it, honestly.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I Corinne's not the type to face these things head on. She tends to literally go careening off into space as quickly as possible and run away. So it doesn't matter what direction. So that's kind of where she's at with it. If she thinks too hard, if the space or the time gets too quiet, or if she lets herself feel it, yeah, it can get pretty bad. So she really tries to avoid that.
Okay.
Any time that she kind of has a quiet moment, she starts to focus on something. She's like, nope, can't think about it. Have to figure out why the AI is sitting there staring at me, for hours on end. or mess with the sensors, or check on, Nomi in the garden. And by check on, I mean just go and like do things and not talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's just avoiding it because it's a lot.
Yeah. And a lot of it is hard to process because she has the knowledge but not the memories or experiences still. So
Yeah.
It's like being told for a year, you're in a coma for a year and it's like being told all the things that happened for a year and you're like, oh really?
You're like completely disconnected from it.
Yeah.
And that's how she feels. And I mean, she just feels, I think, a little bit guilty and a little bit sad that she never felt the same way as her friend did, as Jam did, and just like she wishes she could have returned his feelings so that his insane sacrifice would have been more worth it. She doesn't really feel like she...
There was an aspect of the sacrifice basically being... wasn't, obviously it was for her as well. It was also kind of like, if you stumble across a station with a whole load of people who fell to some mysterious infection, disease thing, you don't really want to take that back into the worlds and into the general populace. So
yeah, but like why am I the one that survived? That's really like it just feels like it doesn't make sense to her. Why, like she has this family that has all of this money and all of this prominence and blah blah, but she's always shied away from that. She's never really felt like they deserved the sort of high standing that they have. Because she knows them personally, and like some of them do deserve it, but that's just because of the kind of people that they are, not because of their name. It's because of who they are as people. No, yeah, exactly. And so like the people around her, like her aunt, and even a little bit her cousin, and what she knew of her, and the people that she really knows well and respects, those people she knows well and respects because of how they are as people, not because of their name. And she's always tried to follow that, but she doesn't feel like she's followed it very well, especially the last 10 years or so.
I mean, even Kareen's father, I'm sure there are times he seems like a demon or a monster, or like some kind of ogre that's in her head, like looming over her. Yeah. Regardless of how she views the things he's done and etc., he has done very impressive deeds and action. He's a behemoth of business and...
Yeah, but he's not a very good person.
I mean, but...
At least from her point of view.
Yeah, but he's still deserving in that way of, like whether you agree with the things he's done. Also, I'm pretty sure, just to keep, because it has been a little bit of time, the people who engaged that mercenary group to kidnap you specifically was someone tied to Cornerstone. Sorry, not Cornerstone, Blue Horizon.
Yeah.
It could be Kareen's father, and I imagine she's still assuming it is. But
I think she's really confused about that, actually, and worried, because those things were very separate until they weren't, until just now, right? And everything that she knows about Blue Horizon and how they got involved with this whole craziness makes her really nervous if her dad actually is involved, because he is very powerful and he is a lot less scrupulous than she is about using that power for whatever, not for the betterment of everyone, maybe for the betterment of himself. And so she just doesn't trust. She doesn't trust that he's not involved.
Yeah.
She's worried that he actually is, and she doesn't trust what he would do with it. Like, he certainly wouldn't do nothing, you know? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of worries bouncing around in her head. And Jam is just a ball of sad and
Confusion and yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I will say at a certain point, you are probably hailed by Romy, who says, Green, we're just about to bring up the VIPs.
Okay, I guess we're as ready as we're gonna be.
Can you just give a shout over the ship, let everyone know we're coming on?
Sure, will do.
Thank you.
Everyone, Cornerstone is basically here. They're about to be brought up by Romy. Just want to let you know.
Okay. And we will move over to Nomi in the garden. Nomi. So, similar little check-in with Nomi, because even though she didn't get up to much on the farm, I imagine everything happening for Nomi was interior, because it was a very different experience to what she's familiar with, let's say.
Yes, in a way. It was interesting.
I mean, like, you've got the warm... Sorry, I'm trying to phrase this in a way that isn't
yeah,
like...
no, I know what you mean. To be honest, that was less weird for her
Yeah.
than what Colton has turned into. Not just since then, but like recently. Since he found out, he's been changing, and it's really unnerved her.
Yeah. That
So I think
makes a lot of sense.
So seeing that, him in that environment, it's like another piece of a puzzle that doesn't make sense for her. And I think probably she's been spending a lot more time just in the garden. That start of a kind of communication between those two has cut off, as has the same thing with anybody else, really. Like, efforts to be more personable have kind of stopped, and she's just doing her job now.
I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like even though she probably wouldn't, voice any issue or anything like that, she may feel a bit uncomfortable around Corrine, just purely because of the things that's been found out about her.
I think uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Nomi doesn't feel like the way she is emotionally is a bad thing. She thinks that's a strength, and that mellowness is something a lot of people could use some of.
Yes.
So I don't think she'd like be worried about somebody reading that in her.
Yeah.
Plus, Corrine's really careful. I don't know if Nomi knows or is aware of the whole touch aspect of it, but Corrine is really careful not to do that.
Yeah.
At moments when Nomi actually seems at all stressed. She's only ever done it when Nomi seems very zen, and Corrine's the one that needs to de-stress, and only very occasionally, like twice. So.
Okay. The other aspect is, I think, probably in a more subtle way that she may be picking up on more. Like, the whole crew have changed to some degree since the death of the captain, and especially for Corrine since the station. So that's probably part of the reason why she's just a bit like, everyone's being weird right now. Stop it, please.
Yeah, it's just it's unnerving for her when people she's started to figure out change.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really understand why it's happened.
Yeah.
Like, she knows the events that have gone on, but to her that's just like, well, that's just a thing that happened. Why are you changing? That person changed.
The only other question I think I have is, what was Nomi's take on Mars Garden?
She's deeply suspicious of Ma.
Yeah.
I'm not, but Nomi is, because she's like, why have you got so much poison, old lady? What's that about?
Yeah.
It's useful, don't get me wrong, but you're pretending to just be a nice little old lady who's growing food, and I'm not buying it.
Yeah, being fair, given what we all know of Nomi, it makes a lot of sense that she'd see this kindly old lady with loads of plants and stuff and be like, spy, assassin, murderer!
Clearly a robot, clearly.
Clearly a future space assassin robot. Okay.
Yeah, like she thought it was cool, and it was very nice to be back in that kind of that sort of environment that's like not stuck in a spaceship.
Yeah.
Was fun. But yeah, that sort of the family aspect of that farm was both fascinating and really weird.
Yeah. She
So it's
probably
like
didn't know how to deal with that whole like homey, comforting, chill vibe that was going on.
Well, it's kind of like a kid looking at an ant farm, just like, what they doing?
Yeah.
Oh, look, they're bonding. That's really cute. Look at them carrying sticks together.
Okay.
Like, it's just amusing more than anything. But the shine of the warmth of that was taken off it for Nomi because of the Colton aspect of it, because that's not the person she was getting to know. And she felt a bond with that person. And now that person's gone and she doesn't really know. Like, that's a grief for her, I think.
Okay. Finally, we have to touch on this. Cornerstone is coming aboard. How you doing?
So pleased about this. Rather than hide in the toilet, I'm going to hide in a garden because that's a much better place to be.
That makes
and I'm
sense.
hoping they will just go the fuck away.
Okay.
It's like last time they came in, they caused trouble and tried to kill me. So I'm just going to stay in here. I don't know if she would have like made any attempt to disguise her face. I think she might have like nicked some of Astrid's goggles or something and just be like, UV light's really bad for you, man. Like,
she does. What I can say is like she doesn't look the same as she did. So.
Yeah.
But there is always a concern. Some people, well, one person in particular, he's not with us anymore, rest his soul, have noticed. But I would say you're reasonably confident that anyone with just like a passing kind of, passing you in the street wouldn't have any. So, as you're kind of ruminating on these things, or not ruminating as the case may be, in the garden, the loudspeaker goes up, like the intercom over the ship. Just you hear Kareen basically saying they're coming on board. I'm assuming you're not gonna head out to meet them. You're gonna just be like.
I'm not even going to respond because she hasn't asked me a question.
Busy gardening,
I'm so sorry. Nomi is shit.
No,
RP.
it makes sense.
872.
Every now and then we have an old man who comes to see her, and then it gets brilliant. So don't worry. So,
like an elderly Pied Piper.
We'll leave Nomi in the garden for a little bit then.
Thank you.
And Kareen, I would assume you're going to head to meet them.
Yeah. Yeah, she kind of feels like I kind of feel like I have to, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
All right. It's a reasonably simple affair. They get brought on board. Colton essentially nods to you, friendly and everything, but heads immediately off, grumbling about, oh, I have to go and deal. I can't do a Colton impression, but this is the best I have. Oh, I have to go and deal with the power stuff and also the engine because Astrid's not here at the moment. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Cox is gone.
Oh, okay, sure.
And Romy says, "Oh, Kareen, this," and he has two, like, the second you see these two guys, they speak to you of bodyguard or bouncer or security. Like, they're dressed in what is essentially, suit, tie type get up. They have, like, little earpieces. They have, like, shades. They are, like, bald. They are big. They are burly. They look like they're twins. Who knows, like, whether they're even related, but they look like they're twins. And in the middle of them, much shorter, very thin, very frail looking, in much more like kind of ornate looking kind of almost like robes, is an elderly gentleman. So obviously he's going to get murdered by Nomi later. But elderly, not really the last person you saw from Cornerstone. He had that kind of like vulture look, you know. He was like very, very bony, very kind of like a Skeksis from Dark Crystal.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Oh, okay. Kind of vulture bird-like, you know. He's got like the hooked nose. He's got like the domed. This man is like clean shaven and just got the wrinkles and the kind of like light frame. And Romy says, Kareen, can I introduce you to Deacon Olymus and his two minders, Eathan and Kame?
Hello. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be off and on our way.
Yes, I'm your pilot. So if you need anything, just let Romy know or myself, and I'll be off piloting.
Very well, very good. And I believe the quarters are this way.
Yes. Should I show them to where they'll be staying?
No, you start the takeoff procedures. I'll give them the proper tour and everything.
Perfect. Thanks, Romy. And literally just turns around and skedaddles out of the room.
Kareen.
Yeah.
First stop, Sarandon, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, let's head off in that direction as soon as possible.
Okay. Got it.
All right.
Consider us on the way.
So, a little bit of time passes as you clear for takeoff, get everything ready, and the ship gets on its way. Now, you're heading from New Ulfin to Sarandon. I don't believe we've been to Sarandon yet. So it's an interesting place. I don't think either Kareen or Nomi have ever been there. And it will take a good few weeks. So, during the trip, at some point, Deacon Olymus will wander into the cockpit.
Oh.
You will have spoken to him a fair few times, just in passing, dinner, these type of things. And the door will open, and he, probably like halfway through the trip or something, he has a tendency to wander. His minders are people that you've seen a lot less than him. They seem to mostly just hang around and, not really do much. Quite often they don't even join for dinner. They have their own off and away. He does too sometimes, to be fair.
Okay.
But he wanders in. Hello, Corinne. It's
Oh, hi.
I hope you don't mind. I just wanted to. It's a long journey to Encroacher. I just wanted to have a look around.
Sure. Of course.
It's not out of bounds here, is it?
No, it's just the cockpit. I pilot the ship from here, and there's a AI cat that literally has just been sitting here staring at me for like a week. Cats, man. Yeah, that's about it. There's not really that much to see. I mean, of course you can see space. Space is always cool.
Okay, well, and he just kind of like starts looking around. You're probably a little bit distracted just by, him, just kind of shuffling about.
Yeah. It's a little strange because why go to the cockpit? But
I mean, you've seen him wandering around a lot of the ship at some point.
yeah.
I always found the art of navigation to be fascinating.
Oh. Really?
There's
have you?
so much space out here to get lost in. It's amazing we find our way anywhere.
That's true. There are some well-known routes. We're basically on one right now, but yeah, there's a lot of space. Lots to explore if you're into that sort of thing. But I would imagine you wouldn't have too many occasions for that, right?
Most of my exploring goes on inside my own head, I'm afraid. But when the need calls for it, I do head out into the other systems. Like now, for example.
Right. So you're making this trip for your group, right? That's the main purpose.
I'm making the trip to ease the hearts of as many people as I can. Things are tumultuous again, and we try our best to make sure everyone, even the people who aren't members of Cornerstone, can be happy or content or able to carry on.
Things are tumultuous again?
There's a lot of friction between the governments.
Oh.
They're having trouble coming to terms. It's not looking like a war yet, but I think none of us want a repeat of previous wars.
Yes, that would be very not good. Wow, I wasn't aware things had gotten that bad.
When you live a life out traveling like this, it must be hard to stay up with the news.
Yeah, I don't really pay that much attention. I guess I should, but just adds stress, but I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, I hope things maybe settle down a little. That would be good.
Peace is always preferable, but not always possible.
Very much so.
Plus, living like this out here is probably a good way to live, honestly, away from the stresses of everyday planetary life, station life. It's...
I don't think I could spend forever on a planet, although some short breaks are good. In station life, I'm used to that, but ship that can go anywhere, definitely much more preferable for me personally, at least. I don't know about you. I guess you tend to stay close to home more usually, right?
I try to now. I'm not young, and definitely not getting any younger, but when we find a place for ourselves, regardless of what that is, we have to take the time to enjoy it and be content with what we have, I guess.
Yeah. Being content with what you have is certainly a gift.
Well, I shan't distract you any longer. I'm sure navigational needs require your attention.
Right. Yeah. And I'll be like, pretend I'm doing something, even though I don't need to do
busy
anything.
right now. Oh, yeah. Click,
Yeah.
click, click, click.
Everything is set in the ship's basically on autopilot, but I just want... he makes me uncomfortable, so I want him to leave.
And he, walks to the door opens, and you hear him say, if I can help at all, please feel free to call on me.
Thank you. I'll keep that in mind.
Have a nice day, Green.
You too.
And the door closes as he leaves.
I look at the AI cat and I'm like, you might be stranger than you are.
I can't. Is it this one? Purr, 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 meow. Again,
It just kind of...
doesn't make the noises, says the words.
Yeah. I just kind of look at... because it hasn't moved. It just makes the noises, but it just sits there.
There's not even like a mouth that opens or anything. It just literally just projects purr, 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 meow. It's weird.
Very, very weird. But Kareen kind of smiles at it because it's more familiar than the strange
It's
guy
less
that
creepy
just walked
than
in.
the old man who was just here. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, she just kind of takes a sip of her coffee and just shakes her head.
Yeah. So, we're going to go to another time. Also, another place, which is over in the garden. Nomi. Again, you've probably had minimal interactions with this guy, and would you have you're Nomi since you've been on the ship?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't previously.
No.
So I would assume that saying hello, I am Nomi, or someone saying this is Nomi would have happened at some point in a dinner or something.
I think, to be honest, she would have been making herself scarce and come up with some reason to not join them for dinners.
Okay.
And just kind of bustle into the kitchen, grab food, and take it back to the garden and eat there.
I will say, at the very minimum, somewhat probably the deacon would have said, "Oh, who was that?" And someone would have said, "Oh, that's Nomi, our gardener or botanist."
Mm-hmm.
So, when the deacon walks into the garden for the first time, he will say, "Hello, Nomi, correct?"
She'll kind of... she's busying herself with her back to the door, and you can see her eyes go. She'll turn around with a big grin on her face. Hello, how can I help you?
Oh, I've just been wandering around the ship, weeks and weeks with nothing to do. I thought I'd see what happened here and how it works. I don't often have the opportunity to see the inner workings of a private ship like this.
Well, it's just a garden, really. It doesn't really, work any different to a normal garden, really.
Oh, well, I don't get to see many gardens, especially not in a spaceship.
No?
Oh no! Very often, the ships we use are larger and often hired from one of the corporations or one of our own private ones, cruise liners, etc.
Oh, right. I thought all the cruise liners and things, I thought they all had their own gardens inside. And it makes sense, really, to make your own oxygen, doesn't it?
Also, mostly I'm just being transported around the place.
Oh, right. So I just make assumptions, really. I suppose I only get to go on ships with gardens now that I think about it.
Well, it seems to be an important aspect of ship life. So,
Breathing?
Yes.
Breathing.
You're essentially the lifeblood of the ship, I guess.
Well, I suppose so. I mean, otherwise people sort of die, and that does rather put a cramp on the whole, passenger situation.
Yes. Sorry, a little old. Do you mind if I sit down?
Oh, feel free, wherever you want.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, no, don't really. I try to keep on my feet as much as possible, really.
It is, once you get to my age, staying on her feet is more a battle of wills than anything else. Sits down. So, if you don't mind me asking, and I don't want this to be intrusive, are you familiar with our organization?
Is it very rude to say no?
Oh, no.
I'm sure you're very important. I just spend most of my time in here, really.
No, it's perfectly fine. We try to extend our hand to everyone we can, but it's not everyone's interested and not everyone's receptive. So we try not to.
What does receptive mean? I mean, I know what the word means. What do you mean receptive?
Well, a lot of people out on stations on the further colony planets see us as more of a cult or a strange religious sect.
Are you?
No. There's no god we worship. There's no strictures you have to abide by. It's more the idea of Cornerstone is to help people who need help. Help them come to terms with the things that happen in their life, to live without baggage, without all of those things that drag us down into the black.
Right. Isn't that what all cults do, though, really? Not saying you're a cult, just, pointing it out. That's sort of what somebody who ran a cult would say.
We do not require anyone to become a part of us. We offer help, and those who are thankful, those who are grateful can
give you
help.
Money?
No.
Oh.
The majority of our money is government funded.
Oh.
We receive a lot of help from the inner government especially, but all the Encroacher allied planets and the Initiative help us with our organization. So.
Oh, that sounds very sensible.
It's the assistance is appreciated. We do also have instances of corporations, businesses wanting to show their softer side, donations to us and assistance in the form of
Tax breaks.
supplies, maybe tax breaks as well, possibly. We're not a charity or anything like that.
Right.
We do our best to take everything given to us and use it to help others, but we are not officially a charity or a religious organization or anything like that.
So you're like a garden.
I suppose in some ways we are, yes.
Would you like a strawberry?
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you. It's
There you go.
Thank you very much. And he, without hesitation, just pops it in his mouth and just chews a little bit. You're probably happy for a second because it means he's stopping talking for a bit. As he chews, can I ask? And I feel like I have to ask: is this poisoned?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Tempting, but no.
I had to ask. And he kind of finishes the strawberry and has that little green grassy bit at the top.
It's called a stem, sheepy.
Well, I'm in character right now. I don't know much about gardening. Is this needed to repopulate the soil, or is this?
No, you can just sort of pop it in that bin over there, and then we just use it to mulch it down, and then the other plants eat it.
He kind of like slightly laboredly gets up and shuffles over, drops it in. Oh, see, just a quick visit, and already I'm learning more than I knew. How wonderful. Well, I'm. Don't worry. And he like sits back down and says, "Don't worry. I'm not here to try and convert you or preach or anything like that. That's my job when we get to our destinations."
Oh, so this is like a holiday for you.
The actual places we're going to is very much work, but I guess this could be considered a holiday. Yes. It's the first one I've had in 10 years.
Too long.
Well, we all need a break sometimes. I guess I can take this opportunity to just enjoy myself.
That's what I tend to do. Just sit and enjoy the quiet.
Oh, of course. And I'm sorry to intrude. I should, and he starts to get up. I should carry on and let you enjoy your work.
Well, here. She'll go and grab some more strawberries and put them in a little pot for him. For your friends.
Thank you, dear. That's very kind of you. I'll take this to them directly. Sorry, it might be a little bit impertinent of me to say, but it's so nice to see someone who clearly enjoys their job so much and is so fulfilled with what they're doing. And legitimately, he seems to be misting very slightly in kind of in a way. I just wanted to note my appreciation for that.
That's all right. Do you not? No, none of my business. Sorry.
Do have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. And he shuffles out and heads to. Well, probably to give some strawberries to his minders. Nomi and Kareen. Hey there. We are now going to shift forward in time a fair bit. What I will say is very little happens. You do have a few similar interactions with the Deacon like that. that is probably the most... what we just went through was probably the most pertinent one. The rest was, you know... I mean, it wasn't even that pertinent. It was just kind of a nice chat, especially from his perspective. But...
We're not very trusting.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're not from round here, are you?
Oh, you guys have had passengers before. You know how it goes.
Yeah, we end up shooting children.
Oh God.
That is unfortunately true. But they survived. It's fine, mostly. So you eventually get to and land on Sarandon. Now, Sarandon is an interesting place. It is the center of industry for the Encroacher allied planets. It is also heavily an ocean world. That is to say, there is very little land above the ocean. The majority of Sarandon is either platform cities floating in the sea, a few cities which are on little islands and places like that. The majority of the land is either some type of food production or industry, and there are multiple domes in the sea which are dedicated to things like slime farming, kelp farming, like anything that can be farmed, because Sarandon is a big industrial world. Technically speaking, like it does a lot of industry, it does a lot of these things. The problem is it's kind of spotted out all over the planet because it's a big ocean world, essentially. And it's one of the reasons for the food wars, because it can't produce enough food for itself. When the initiative broke away, the Encroacher allied planets, specifically Sarandon, was very worried about, you know, basically being taxed to hell and not being able to trade enough food and stuff, which is how the whole conflict kind of started and spread out to the inner systems as well. However, the only thing of note that happens while you are there, you land on one of these city, kind of floating city platforms. A lot of industry, a lot of stuff going on. I imagine neither of you leave, you know, like, for anything important. Probably just, like, any nearby, like, shops or something. Yeah, have a look for extra supplies or that kind of thing.
Only if somebody on the ship says we need something. But
well, honestly, Colton and Romy will probably be going out for most stuff, so...
Yeah.
You may just end up on the ship if you don't want to explore at all.
Yeah, I think Kareen will probably stay on ship.
Yeah. The only thing that will happen is you'll be contacted by a member of Cornerstone, essentially just a quick message, to inform you that the trip and meeting on Prioris has been cancelled due to civil unrest and riots and whatnot.
Oh, jeez. Okay. I would let Romy know. And then tell him we have to.
Yeah, you could just basically stop him as he's working in the cargo hold and be like, "Hey, Roby," yeah, and he'll say, "All right, thank you for letting me know. I'll let the Deacon know, and we'll just skip Prioris, go straight to Nivnafar."
Yeah. It's not great that there's so much unrest. It sounds like there's more and more these days.
I mean, it was already bubbling over there when we were there, wasn't it? So.
True. Okay. I'll just retool the navigation, the autopilot plan.
All right. I'll go let the Deacon know.
Thanks.
And the Deacon does whatever he's doing on the planet. Takes a couple of days. He's known that the trip to Prioris is cancelled, and you head off towards Nivnafar. Niv-Nefar is a encroacher, Allied Planets world. It is an interesting one. Again, we haven't been here, so I'll take you through it a little bit. This is the closest you'll find to essentially like a pleasure planet. It's not completely, obviously. It has its own industry. It has its own food production. But the most interesting and important places on the planet are large, like gambling, drinking, partying, beaches. Like literally any kind of holiday you want, you can take on Niv-Nefar. So very often it's a place where reasonably affluent people go to relax and to kind of, you know, all of that type of thing. The planet itself, and let me just pull this up here. That's Sycharis. The planet itself is quite interesting because it has a... There we go. It was the most successful terraformed world. It was the only one that was already habitable for life before it was colonized, and it was essentially like an experiment by the inner government when it was first colonized to be like, hey, what if we try and improve a world that is already livable? It has a red-purple atmosphere. So, like, the sky, instead of being blue, is kind of red-purple. Partially because the sea itself as well is also kind of like a reddy purple, a lot of algae, but it gives this very kind of like trippy vibe to anyone who's not on the planet, who hasn't like grown up on the planet. Because it looks like it's permanently in sunset, you know, that kind of like cool, yeah. It's also very often, like, there's a lot of stations around it where it's kind of a hub for trade and travel and transport and all that type of thing. So very, very busy, very, very, like, hive of activity. And, again, during the Deacon's work there, only takes a couple of days. As far as you can tell at this point, if you ask, you'll find out, or you'll hear it mentioned at least. He's essentially holding a few speeches, pretty much. Just, you know, kind of like a podium presentation, bullet points, you know, like one of those kind of self-help classes or whatever, except for on a much more grand kind of organized rally scale. You know, there's loads of people in the crowd all going yeah and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, aside from that, not much happens. Eventually he's done his speeches, he's done his rallies, whatever you want to call them, gets back on the ship, and it's time to head off towards Sycharis.
I think Karine would kind of try to stay away from him as much as she could without making it obvious that she's staying away from him, because he really it's just creeps. So yeah, she just kind of...
Can I ask, what about him gives her the creeps?
The questions just seemed... It was just weird when he came to the ship, the bridge. Like, he seemed to know more than he was saying about whatever the situation was. He reminded her of when her father would say things in this knowing voice but never explain. That whole older, I know things you don't know kind of...
I'm well traveled. I understand existence, and
yeah.
He seems way too content and happy, and that's suspicious.
Yeah. And yeah, so he just made me uncomfortable. And so
It's fair. Like there's a lot of people on Deep Waters who haven't got things figured out and aren't always that happy. So it's probably very weird to have some old man shuffling around in his slippers like dum da dum, yay yay.
A little bit.
Okay. So we will close out for this part with you landing on Sycharis. Sycharis is your final destination, so the deacon and his retinue will be doing a couple of speeches, and then they have their own organization, essentially. This whole trip, because you've essentially gone from the inner system to Encroacher, and now to Sycharis, you've headed to Benny, one of the distant twins. This whole thing has probably taken about a month and a half. So just to give you an idea of the timescale that's gone through, it's been a little while. Sycharis itself is, you know what, the biggest jolt you've had in kind of like shifting from planet to planet is probably from Nivnafar to Sycharis. Sycharis was a failed terraforming project. It was rushed. A lot of things went wrong during the whole process of basically making it livable. That means that it is just about livable. The atmosphere itself is partially toxic. It's essentially, I want to say corrosive. It essentially slowly, if you breathe the atmosphere for too long, like if you live there, your like lungs will start to rot. You kind of like rot from the inside out, basically. So on Sycharis, everyone walks around outside with gas masks. Essentially just rebreathers and kind of, protective gear. Everything inside is filtered. So all of the cities, all of the public buildings, everything has air filtration, and it's quite expensive. The only other thing I can tell you about Sycharis that you'll notice just from, like being on Sycharis is you never see any type of security or police or anything that isn't military. As far as you can tell, Sycharis is very militarized. And I think Colton's mentioned it, but I think any of you would also know about the Sycharis Marines are fairly well famed for being very tenacious, very hard to fight, just kind of, I wouldn't say elite exactly, but they have a bit of people have perception of them as being quite elite. So, for now, we will leave Nomi and Kareen on the ship on Sycharis, and we're off somewhere else. We are off to a station. In fact, we are off to Terra Firmacraft Station to visit a friend of ours who's been away for a little bit, Astrid.
Hello.
So Astrid, essentially getting to the Terra Firmacraft Station takes a bit of time from New Ulfin. The Terra Firma Station is kind of in the area. It's essentially drifting in between the inner system and the Annie system, the other distant twin. So you essentially have to wait for someone going that way, but it's not impossible to do. I'd say probably 2-3 days waiting, and you finally make contact with someone heading off to there. Pay a small fare. Luckily, you can afford it because you have your bank account that the captain set up for you.
Ah, sweet.
So don't worry too much about how am I gonna get there? Finally, Astrid has money again.
I do have to ask though, is there a pet fee?
a pet?
Or the baby Greylick that I brought with me.
You brought a baby Greylix with you? In that case, yes, you'll have a carrier. It's probably I would say. Are we talking? How baby are we talking? But are we talking like literally?
It's baby.
Okay. She didn't ask because she knew I'd say no. All right. So if I just say I have a baby Greylix, then I can have, I've got a pet finally, yay. Oh god, is this what it's like to be a parent? Okay. If I just tell them, if I just turn up one day with a dog, my parents will have to let me keep him. So that's gonna be fun for everyone when you get back. But you disembark from the terra firma station, onto the terra firma station. You thank the captain of the ship who was traveling and have a good time, blah blah blah. Look out for yourself. He gives you a little bit of a speech about how it's kind of lawless and dangerous here, because he didn't know that you're from here. It's like,
sure thing. Will do. I will be very vigilant on it.
So, I think we should establish things a little bit. Not just establish things a little bit. Seeing as what we're doing and it's kind of a whole thing, I think we should also... First up, before we start talking about the station, the terra firma station, how do you feel, Astrid, being home?
Surprisingly comfortable.
It's been, it's been like a good 7-8 months at this point since you signed up to the ship, and it's probably been
even longer.
Even longer since you've been back, yeah.
Oops.
So, I imagine after you, because it's been a little while, my brain is like, well, how much have we revealed about different characters' backstories and stuff? We talked about where Astrid was, right? Like, it's common knowledge to people watching. Yeah. So, I imagine you popped back shortly after you got out of prison to terra firma station.
No, I got out and I walked straight into that bar and I met Raimi.
Yes, you did. Apologies. Wow. Good memory. Mine's crap. So, it's, in that case, it's probably been like 3 years? I think 3-4 years. Alright.
About that.
So, you're back on the station. Feeling good?
Feeling fresh.
Feeling fresh. Let's talk about the station a little bit, because it like a lot of these planets that I'm establishing right now, we haven't been to them yet. It's almost like someone made too many planets and places, and there wasn't enough time to visit them all. How weird is that? So, where is my... There we go. Terra firma Station originally was a colony ship. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Those colonists in the early days basically shot out from the inner system with a hope to make it to one of the distant twins and colonize one of the planets. That did not happen. What happened was they broke down because the technology was pretty crappy, and they drifted in space, eventually ending up in a small little kind of nebula cloud area of space, in between the systems, out to the side of the systems, basically. And because they had supplies to colonize, they essentially turned the ship into its own small ecosystem. Farms, workshops, they essentially lived their life out on a depowered station. And as time went on, people found them and joined them, because very often the people who found them were on the outside of society, let's say, looking for a place to call home, to operate out of, that wasn't within the law of the inner government. As time went on, they drifted through space. And they occasionally ran into things like other ships, derelict stations, debris from the wars and from all of these type of things. They could also utilize some of the thrusters and things to kind of like change where they're going through space as they drifted. And they started cobbling together a larger station. Essentially what the terra firma station is now is many, well, let's say a couple of centuries of finding space debris and gluing it to a colony ship. So at this point, there's multiple ships, multiple parts of stations that have just been like compounded onto this colony ship, and it's just a giant floating smorgasbord of corridors and places. It's a really weird, interesting place. It's where you grew up. It's where you were born. So we'll get into what exactly you do when you get back and everything in a moment, but for now I'll just give you a brief rundown of the situation on the station. There was an attempt from the Encroacher allied planets, their military and navy, to essentially claim and take over the station. What essentially happened was the citizens, the denizens of the station, weren't having any of that. And I don't think the Encroacher allied planets really understood how much of the station is criminals and ne'er-do-wells and people who, so the Marines who landed, there were scuffles, there was some firefights. A lot of it was just, a pissed off citizen throwing a Molotov into a car or something, and with the intervention of the inner government and also the initiative government, a deal and a treaty essentially was worked out, whereby the Encroacher allied planets will provide manpower and expertise to help repair and build up parts of the ship as restitution for their basically breaching of a previous treaty. So war's avoided for now, and there are a lot of Encroacher workers and mechanics and stuff, like helping to fix the ship and put new bits on it. Aside from that, the main sections of the ship that you will know, and that we can now tell everyone, now that we're here, yay, is the Bazaar is a kind of open market area. Essentially, anyone who wants can turn up, hammer together a stool or a table, put a whole load of crap on it, and sell it to anyone they want. So the Bazaar has a lot of... Have you ever been to like a market? Like a market...
Car boot sale.
Yeah, it's like a giant car boot sale.
Oh, hell yeah.
Lots of people shouting, millions of people trying to sell fruit. And additional to that, what's kind of built up around it is almost like an entertainment area. There's bars, there's clubs, there's, beating music. There's food stalls, people going around like frying up random crap, and I won't go into the details of that because I don't want to make anyone hungry. Yeah, it's one of the core kind of like activity centers. If you're a resident living on the terra firma station, you probably go there for your dinner. Yeah, if you have the money. Additionally, there's the house, which is part of what was fused onto the station was a very large cargo ship. That cargo ship was taken over by a group of, they're probably criminals, but essentially taken over and turned into a big warehouse or like storage space. So the entirety of that area is like, hey, do you want to rent a room? Do you want to rent some cargo space in one of the container boxes? Do you want to, however much you want to rent out, you can rent out a whole load of space. And that's the house. Then you have the dock, which is where you are currently. And it's also where you get any ships coming in, any trading, like being offloaded or being brought on. It's also where you get all your mechanic shops, all your, when you want to like knock through a wall to make some more space in your house, inverted commas house, you don't call a carpenter or a builder, you call a mechanic because it's all a ship. So a lot of work for mechanics on here. There's also the breaker bays, the scavenger areas. Essentially, because you're on a station, everything has to be recycled, and anything you find from outside, a ship like going out to collect some random gear or even another ship will be brought back here. The breakers will break it down, the scavengers will recycle everything, turn them into usable bits and pieces. It's kind of how life is lived out here. Then you've got the block, which is essentially the majority of the housing. For the most part, it is a case of find an area, claim an area, build a house, live. So, it's quite cramped, and there's not a whole load of space. But there are some places which are a bit more affluent, a bit richer, which have nice, expansive buildings of metal and iron and whatnot. And looks a bit nicer. Some people have 2 rooms in their house. And then finally there's the sprawl. The sprawl isn't actually an area, it's any section of the station that is currently being expanded or being worked on. Basically, the whole deal with Terra Firma Station is it keeps growing because people keep adding stuff to it. If you need a house and there's no space for you, you go into a section of the sprawl, lock it off and just build yourself a domicile. So, if anyone ever says the sprawl, or if you say you're going to the sprawl, everyone will assume it's like the outer reaches of the station.
Yeah.
So that's Terra Firma Station. What a fun place it is to be. And you are currently in the dock, having just got off the ship and looking around. Honestly, this is probably the most at home you've felt in a long time, because it is just workshop metal noises. There's like sparks flying out of random doorways and all that type of thing. And
beautiful.
should we talk for a moment about the shop, because the shop's around here. Yeah, your old business was here, your shop.
Pride and Joy.
Your Pride and Joy, which I have in my notes somewhere, but I don't. Is it here? Yes. Your so Astrid, you used to own your own breaker yard, your own breaker shop, where you would tear apart ships, turn them into usable materials, and essentially you made a living recycling and repairing and mostly breaking apart things.
I'm an entrepreneur.
You are an entrepreneur, right up until one specific moment, but that's, sorry.
We'll be in a minute.
Mm-hmm. And your shop was called the Rip-Off Shop.
Purely naming convention.
Well, I mean, you rip parts off ships. The Rip-Off Shop. Makes sense. It's like a chop shop, except for, a bit more ripping. So... I imagine, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, you or Astrid is going to head in a specific direction, probably to the block.
Nah.
No?
I'm on the dock, so I'm gonna start working my way down.
All right.
See if that bastard is still there.
Where you headed?
The rip-off shop.
Okay.
It was still called that.
So, you head through, you see faces, you see people, and you may even be hailed a couple, or hey, it's been ages, just from a distance. You're clearly kind of heading with a purpose, and anyone who doesn't recognize you obviously won't know, so there's no interaction there, but people who do recognize you or know you from before also know well enough not to be like, hey, I'm gonna get in your way and take up your day kind of thing. So you manage to walk through the different little alleyways and streets of the dock until you get to the Rip-Off Shop. From within, you hear the sounds of grinding and, and out kind of like the back of the Rip-Off Shop, you see this kind of like, half deconstructed, shuttle. Which is clearly in the process of being dismantled.
I'm just gonna, cross my arms. Pretty shoddy work.
There's
I'm not gonna raise my voice.
There's a guy inside the shop, got a big metal buzzsaw, just cutting off strips of paneling from the ship. Got his back to you.
I'm just gonna look around. I'm assuming there's nuts and bolts and...
Oh yeah, nuts and bolts and welding tools and bits of metal and shavings and everything.
Yeah. Oi!
It kind of hits him at the back and he kind of stops what he's doing, spins around. You see, the best way I can describe him is bald on top, big bushy on chin, big leather overall type things. Looks like a blacksmith in a fancy setting or an innkeeper type thing. He kind of spins around and goes, "Can I help you?"
I mean, if you're lucky.
Oh, a customer. Ah, well, what are you in the market to buy?
Property.
Property? Not sure I can help you with that.
I think you can. You boss around.
Not currently, no.
I suggest you go find him then.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Sorry, what?
Who are you?
I'm just gonna point at the big old sign.
Yes, this is the Rip-Off Shop. So, what we do here, young lady, is we take apart the ship. You see that ship outside? Well, it's more of a shuttle, I guess, but you know, it works in space outside. We take them apart, we get all the useful materials, and then we sell them along to anyone who has use for them or has need for them.
Oh wow, interesting. I should take notes.
Yeah. So, I'm very unclear as to what exactly. Are you here representing someone else wanting to buy the shop or something? Because
you know, I'm not gonna stand here and be lectured about how to take apart a ship by someone who clearly doesn't know how to use the right frequency on the sword. That is why your panels are jagged and a little bit flimsy, if I might say.
And he turns around and looks at it, and he's like, they're not jagged. Look, and he runs his finger across it and cuts his finger, and it's like, they're a little jagged, but it's for the
choices.
For the job I'm doing, it's fine. It's fine. How do you know so much anyway?
Almost like it's my shop, mate.
This was your shop? Wait, does that mean you work for Doolin?
Okay, I nearly just threw up in my mouth for a second. No, I do not work for Doolin.
Yeah, Doolin Groves. He used to own this whole area of the dock. All the properties, all the shops, all the everything.
Wait, sorry, when did that happen?
When did he own them? 9 months? 12, a year ago? He's been slowly losing area, losing influence. Or all that kind of thing. So, you used to own this shop before that, then?
You mean used to? It's my shop.
Well, I'd say possession is 9/10 of the law, but there is no law, so... I mean, look, I don't own this place either. It's not mine. I just work here. And he goes over, kind of rummages around in a toolbox, and there's lots of metal tools and stuff that come out. He's like, gets some duct tape and just tapes around his finger.
Look, I built this shop from the ground up.
I mean, it's not me you want to talk to.
And where's Doolin?
Dunno, he's hiding out somewhere in the docks, I think. He might be over in the blocks, but just rumors and that. Have you heard of Adranius King?
Who?
Adranius King.
I mean, saying it twice don't make it ring a bell, mate.
Oh, right. So, about a year and a half ago, maybe, Adranius started coming on the up and up. Originally, he was working for some other, some other gangs, some other local groups, made a name for himself, took over, there was alliances, there was, betrayals. It's a whole long story that I won't bore you with.
Yeah, I'm not really looking for a history lesson.
Essentially, round about a year ago, he pushed out Doolin from this whole section. His guys, his whatever you want to call them, thugs, enforcers, whatever, just boom, gone. Doolin's last month's news, last year's news, I guess. Not much of a thing anymore, really. I don't know. Times change. People move up. People move down.
Right, well, looks like it's my turn to move up in the world and get the deeds to my shop back.
I mean, you're gonna have to go talk to Adranius about that.
Oh, so he owns it now?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, he owns the whole area.
Where can I find Adrenius?
I mean, if you want to talk to him, and he basically mentions a like little kind of bar establishment kind of down the ways. It's kind of on the edge of the bazaar as the bazaar moves into the docks. It's like that was always his. It's always been his hangout. At the very least, you'll be able to talk to someone who works for him.
Fine. Change the voltage on that saw up to 40.
40. Right.
Yes.
40. Right. And then you hear this like zzz, as it flies back up. He's like, anything else?
Your name?
Grayson.
Alright, Grayson. I get the deeds back to my shop. And if you don't butcher any more panels, you can keep working.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that.
You should.
Have a good day, possible future boss.
Will do.
Yeah. Just as you're walking off, heading down towards the place where Mr. King may be, Grayson seemed like he is okay at the job, but he's not as good as you. Is what I was saying.
Obviously.
So, headed down to the bar.
Yep.
Alright, when you get to it, you essentially walk in. It's a bar, so it's not like anyone's gonna be like, oh, hold on a second, you're not allowed in here. You see, without recognizing anyone specifically, there may be like a face or two who you know in passing, you know, but no one you're like, oh, that's James E. McJameson. It's filled with the usual customers. These are terra firma station denizens who are deeper into the gangs, into the crime, into the... Well, there's no law, so I can't say illegal, but definitely the more nefarious side of things. A lot of tattoos, quite a few kind of like... One of the things that's quite prominent on Terra Firma Station is like metal tattoos, which is essentially like implanted metal symbols and all that type of thing.
Right. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna walk straight up to the bar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get one of those like handled chalice kind of cups. And I assume there's probably like someone eating or something. If they got a fork, I'm basically just gonna like, fine, thank you. I'm gonna get the fork and just go like, ding 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 ding. Adrenius King, if you're not a fucking pussy, come meet me outside so we can talk. Thank you. It's your public service announcement. And then I walk out the door.
Okay. There is a moment's cessation of noise as everyone like stares incredulously at you.
What?
But then you immediately like turn and shoot off. And the noise, they're like, you know, it's a moment shock, and then people go back to talking, and the like noise picks back up. After you stand outside for maybe a minute, someone walks outside. He's quite short, probably about the same height as you, and quite stocky. You know, muscled and all that type of thing. Got like a kind of metal pattern around his cheeks, both sides, and he walks up and says, might I inquire as to...
Grow up.
Might I inquire as to who is
Sorry,
asking... If you would like to meet with Mr. King, you will need to comport yourself with some respect at least, or I can just leave. And you
Respect,
won't get
mate.
to
Have
see
you seen
him.
the place that we're studying?
It is up to you. If you do not want to meet Mr. King, then I can leave.
Okay, so sorry. Might I taint the idea of an audience with his lordship? I think that sounded a lot more respectable than the other thing, so...
I'll tell you what. And he walks over to, like, a table outside the bar. It's like one of those stand things. Smacks his arm down on it. Puts his hand out.
You really need to cut your fingernails, Jesus. Oh! Alright. Let's go.
Okay. So. A second here. I assume, Astrid, that you are going to partake in a test of strength. Essentially,
absolutely.
He's essentially like, I'll wrestle me. If you can beat me, I'll take you to Mr. King. No questions asked.
I mean, if you want to make it easy on me, jeez.
Okay. So that will be strength-based melee.
What? Do I hit strength or do I hit melee?
So you do melee, but there's a drop down that will say like strength or whatever.
No. Oh, do I change the characters? Okay, there we go. What role type is this?
This is a regular, no boon, no
Yay.
What's the other one? It's boon or bane. Yeah, so no boon, no bane, just a normal one.
Normal roll.
Yes, please.
Let's do it.
Oh, it's an 8. That's an 8 too. So, after about 2 minutes, there has been no movement, and you're both there, like, little bead of sweat starts to come down his temple. You can tell that he started really confident. Even though you're the same size, like, he's got this kind of, like, I'm musty, and I'm confident of my... Astrid's quite ripped and everything, but she's also short and kind of... She doesn't sound like she's someone who could put her fist through your face, but, Should we go for a second, see if we can't win this, figure out this stalemate?
It might do.
Alright. Rolling, guys. Everyone's so excited when we get to roll.
I'm just, gonna try and, psych him out a little bit, just, not breaking eye contact. I'm like, nice weather we're having, isn't it?
Interesting. Would you like to do a roll to see if this affects him at all, or would you like to...
Can't do more rolls, Sheepy. I'm all for it.
Okay. Let's have a look here. Let me have a look at your thing, see what skills you have for this. I was about to say roll be advocate, but I was like, the advocate is...
Oh, no, that one. That one. Deception.
Deception would work, because you're basically... being like, I'm fine. I'm not even I'm not even trying yet. In a second, I'm gonna smash you.
All right. Normal boon bane.
Let's go with normal for now.
Wait.
7 is a success, with a caveat. So, I will say there is no current detriment. It works. Like, you convince him that he's that you're kind of absolutely fine, all that type of thing. All I'll say is if this goes badly, it'll go more badly. So
all right, so same as before.
Another one, please. There we go.
Okay.
But you have got him rolling on a Bane, so... Oh, another 8, really? Okay. There you go. So, as you smash his hand down onto the table, essentially what happens is you feel him pushing with more force in kind of like there's no way that she's actually not trying with this. And instead of like pushing back with more force, you essentially lock your arm. So he's expending his effort against your like maintained effort. And then you wait for a second as he like eases off after finding, you know, no real give in the push. And you take that second where he stops like pushing so hard to just go SMAM! And you hear like a crack as one of his fingers breaks.
Does that mean I win then? Unless you want to do best of 3.
No, that will be appropriate. Thank you. I will take you to see Mr. King.
I do greatly appreciate that.
If I ask your name?
Nah, you're right, mate.
Very well. Deal is a deal. And he basically takes you, if you'll follow me, please. And he takes you in. Everyone kind of like quietens down a little bit as he walks back in. And takes you through. And behind the bar, essentially, into the back room. Where there is, 3 people or so kind of sat around in a room having a conversation, a discussion, which seems to be kind of, you know, a bit back and forth. There is a woman and a man, both of whom are quite snappily dressed, quite, you know, kind of like this gentleman as well himself, looking quite well-to-do, especially for the terra firma station. And then there is another man who is a bit more shoddily dressed. He's in kind of like a suit, but it's like a tattery suit. It's got like dust and it's got like bits and pieces on it. And he's got a little bowler hat on his head as well. Lot shorter, a lot smaller in stature. And as the guy guides you in, he says, Mr. King, got a person wanting to meet you. And he like holds up his finger, which is like kind of at a right angle. It says, if you don't mind, sir, I'm just gonna go and the guy in the bowler hat looks up and says, yeah, go get that looked at, mate. I think I believe the dock's in across the road, so just get it snapped back together and all that kind of thing. And also, you're off guard duty for a while if you're gonna get beaten that easily, right? Yes, Mr. King. And the gentleman walks out, and Mr. King like looks up at you for a second, like tilts his head a bit, and then looks at the other two and says, right, lady, gentlemen, meeting adjourned for now. Please do come back another time. But for now, I've got someone more important to talk to. So, skidoo. And they look a little bit kind of, you know, a little bit of grumbling, a little bit affronted, but not very much at all because...
Come on, you heard him. Someone more important's here. Make it snappy.
And they get up and they head out the door. And Mr. King stands up, does a very little bit of a bow, and says, well, your reputation does precede you, I guess.
I fucking hope so. I worked hard on it.
I apologise for my guard, but he's new around here. He doesn't really know the area, and yeah. Anyway, do come in. Sorry, would you prefer if I call you Miss Larkle?
No.
So Astrid it is?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, what was that? Before,
Astrid.
before that.
Miss Larkle?
Larkel.
Larkel? L.
Larkel.
Oh, apologies. I've only heard of you by reputation. I guess they were saying the
Apparently
name
not
wrong.
well enough.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, Astrid, would you like a seat?
Sure, do I get to take it home with me?
Yeah, if you want.
I was just gonna sit down and probably put her feet up on the other chair.
Yeah.
The other person was sitting in.
And he sits down and says, "So, last I heard, you ain't been back here in years."
Well, I have come to reclaim my homeland. Or something.
Homeland?
A shop.
Oh, your shop. Right. Yeah. I heard that Doolan took it off you. I can't say I did it for you, but I do own the shop myself right now. So, yeah, do you want it?
Well, that would be nice, and also let the record show that he did not take it from me. I was slighted and ended up in prison, and it was left unattended.
Yeah, well, I mean, he basically gave you up, and you were arrested, and then he took it.
Oh, thank you. I do appreciate having my rap sheet read back to me.
Right. Well, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I don't tend to just give things away, even to someone with your own reputation yourself.
Okay.
So, I don't know. How about you join me? I've got a little palaver planned in like a day or two. And it might be something that you're interested in yourself anyway, right?
I appreciate the offer. You're not really my type.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. You're also not my type, don't worry. So, what I'm thinking is come back tomorrow and we'll see if we can track down Doolan, kick down a door, drag him out into the light, either send him to jail or string him up.
And you think I wasn't already gonna do that?
Huh?
Do I look like the sort of person who needs assistance?
Well, no, if you want to do it yourself, by all means. I just, he's not by himself, so...
And how many is he still running with?
I can't say for sure.
Alright,
There's not many people still with him. I've taken over most of this area myself. And, well, me and my boys. But... Hey, if you don't want to if you want to do this all yourself, then by all means. I'm not doubting your ability. I'm just saying that there ain't no reason to risk it. Well, I guess there is a reason to risk it. Big risk, big reward.
I wouldn't exactly see someone like Doolan as a reward, but...
No, but the bounty on him would be a good reward.
Bounty?
Oh, yeah.
What's little fuckface been up to?
Little fuckface was in charge of this whole area for a good few years. Got up to a lot of naughty things. Until I came in and essentially shoved him out with ease. It's not a very talented...
Became the savior of the people.
Well, I may like to style myself that way a little bit, but I am a businessman. Tell you what. Do you want to come with us, or do you want to do this yourself?
What the heck. It'll be fun.
You're coming with?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Come back, let's say a couple of hours before now tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll go kick down a couple of doors.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
Alright, beautiful. Anything else?
I still get to keep the chair, right?
Yeah, why not?
Fucking sweet.
Oh, one last thing. I know your reputation. You don't really know mine. Do you have your, this is me, Sheepy. Do you have your gun on you, Astrid?
Probably be in a bag.
In a bag? Alright.
Yeah.
In that case, he'll say, do you have a weapon? Pistol? Anything along those lines?
Yeah?
Alright. Can you grab it for a sec for me?
Why would I do that?
Well, I'm over here. So, you know. I'm not gonna try anything funny. Alright. Now point it at me.
We'll make sure the safety's on.
Alright. Now shoot me. Yeah, don't worry. Shoot me.
What is this? Some kind of test? Some commotion, and I see how many people come running to your aid, or I get implicated in your murder, and there's some sort of elaborate scheme?
No, just shoot me.
Why?
Because you don't know my reputation. This will explain a lot clearer for you.
Is your reputation bulletproof?
No. Do you want something a little bit less dangerous? We can do something a little bit less dangerous.
Ash is gonna put a gun back in the bag.
Pulls out a coin, flips it to you. Flip the coin. Heads. It's heads.
Oh, 50-50 chance.
Flip it again.
You're so good at this.
Tails.
The fuck?
For the sake of time, we can do this as many times as you want. He's going to be right.
Mate, that is weird.
It's especially useful when you're a gambler.
Are you like magnetic or something?
No, I'm just lucky. Everything goes right for me, nothing goes wrong. What can I say? You want to get that gun out now?
I don't fire guns.
Alright. It's not going to fire.
I don't fire guns.
Alright. Well, in that case, you know at least a little bit of my reputation. So, we'll go out looking for, Doolin tomorrow, and we'll find him, because I'm looking for him.
Fine.
So, see you tomorrow then, Astrid.
Ash is just gonna get up and pick the chair up and
Have a nice day.
fuck out with it. Well, day.
So, would you like to skim the, whatever you do next?
Yeah, can do.
Alright. And we will go to the next day. You meet back up with Mr. King, Edranius, and head out. Where essentially, him and probably about 5 of his buddies, not including the one whose finger you broke, just go for a walk, everyone following him. He goes left, he goes right, he doesn't seem to know where he's going at all. He's just wandering, and eventually gets to a door. And he says, he's gonna be in there when I open the door.
Is that a Drowney saying that?
Yeah.
If you say so.
And he like turns to you. He probably actually says this as you're walking still. He says, tell me, Miss Astrid, do you want him dead or alive?
Depends how he reacts. But alive, preferably.
Alright. You heard her, boys. Take him alive, if you can. And it goes a bit further, gets to the door. He says, right, you ready for this?
I'm ready to enjoy the show.
Let's go. And he like opens the door and steps in. And just trying to decide if this music's appropriate. I think this music's appropriate.
Always appropriate.
Always appropriate. Inside is kind of like a small kind of living room. It's got like, you know, some consoles, like there's like the news reports on it currently, a couple of like seats, sofa type things, and chairs. There's a man who you will immediately recognize as Doolin, because you don't like him and he left an impression on you. Along with a couple like muscle bodyguard types, who, as soon as the door open and Edranius walks in, immediately respond in like kind of a, you know, tried and tested way. Like, both pull out pistols, aim them at him, and pull the trigger. Like, in an instant, they're like, oh, there he is! And they both go... but they don't fire. And King goes, alright, gentlemen. You've both tried to shoot me. It has not gone well. If you like, you may now leave. We are only here for one person. And they both, like, look at each other. Honestly, I was like, should I roll something for him? I'm like, no. It's... They both, like, look at each other. And then immediately, like, and go and out the back, and the man left there, Doolin, is, whoa. I don't want any trouble. You already pushed me out the docks. And, like, just FYI, you're still kind of behind the big guys, you know, like, everyone's kind of moved into the room. He's like, Edranius, Mr. King, look. You can have the dogs. They're all yours, mate. Don't worry about it, okay? And he's like, well, I appreciate that, Doolin. I really do. It's been a fun year or so, but honestly, a little easy. And it's not just me here today. I did bring a friend. Do you want them to move out the way, or are you gonna, like...
No, they're gonna move out of my way. I am moving.
In that case, as he said, I brought a friend. The wet tide of muscle parts to reveal you. Astrid!
Hello, sweetheart. I missed you.
It's wonderful to see you again. You got out of prison. Beautiful. And then, like, in the middle of talk, he just jumps up and tries to desperately run for the, for the door or something, trips on his own feet and smashes forward into a table and, like, smashes on the ground. He's like, oh. He, like, and, King's, like, turns to you and says, all yours. Do what you want.
Thank you. I will. Still as clumsy as ever, aren't you?
What do you want? And he, like, kind of starts picking himself up a little bit.
What do I want?
Yeah, what do you want?
A pony. No. A kitten. No. Oh, I remember. I want to beat the shit out of the person who ratted on me and took my fucking shop.
Look, Astrid.
You thought I was an easy target?
I mean...
Own it, even.
Yeah, alright. And, like, he's kind of, like, staggering a little bit, and I'm assuming you move towards him.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sort of, like, almost, like, stood over him.
Okay. He does, like, pick himself up, you know, like, start standing up. He's like, well, yeah, I know, but... And as he says but, like, his arm swings around from behind him as he's, like, picking himself up. Kind of, like, swings around towards your face.
I want to uppercut him.
Yeah, like, the uppercut connects with him even before he, like, you know, manages to bring his gun to bear. And he just goes splayed out, like, the gun, like, flies across the room.
I want to catch
like,
that. Thank you. No unauthorized weapons on the premises.
Alright, so, and he instead of, like, trying to pick himself up again, he kind of, like, flips himself over, and he's kind of, like, there on his shoulders, on his back. He's like, alright, so, what? You gonna shoot me?
No, that'd just be far too easy, wouldn't it?
Alright, then what?
I guess what do you take from the man who's got nothing? You know?
Right?
Not from his precious little ego.
What, you're gonna take away my ego, okay?
It'd be rather pitiful for me to just stand here and kick the shit out of you because I can. And because I've had this wonderful entourage lead me in here to find you.
Hello?
So, I would like you to get on the next shuttle off terra firma and never show your weasel of a little face here again.
Really?
Yeah. I've been rehabilitated. I'm a new woman.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gone. I'll head straight there now.
Good. Because if I ever do see you here again, I'm going to get sharpest nails I can find, stick them under your toenails and make you kick a wall.
Noted.
Mm-hmm.
I can promise you, you will not see me again.
Good.
Oh, and also, as a point of interest, if I see you again, you're going to be walking outside with no suit. So, you know, either or. And that might be after I skin you. Have a nice day.
Wait, who was saying that? Was that?
That was King.
I couldn't tell, and I was like, what?
Sorry, I thought the voices were different enough. And yeah, essentially, Doolan, to your knowledge, runs out the room without even, you know, basically out the back door where the other god people went, and disappears. If you honestly, and this is Mr. King again, honestly, if you want, I can make sure he leaves, but I don't think he's going to be back.
No.
Although, I was kind of hoping to kill him, to be honest. Or at least send him to jail for a while.
If you wanted to kill him, why didn't you kill him then?
I don't know. I said I'd let you handle it.
And I handled it.
There you go then.
Not everything requires such extremisms.
Very true. But it can be fun sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Alright, well, I don't have an official, like, deed or anything to hand you over, but if my word counts for anything, shop's yours. You can tell Grayson. I'll tell him myself.
Just because this is almost like a thug's kind of place, can I imagine there is maybe a baseball bat or a pipe or something? Like, hang on. And I get that. I hand it, it was like, give me like a knighthood. Like, it's mine. You're the king, you see.
Oh, alright. Yeah, I like it.
County owner of the rip-off shop.
I dub the Astrid Larkel, the owner
Rip-off shop.
of the rip-off shop.
There we go.
Sorry, I own a lot of establishments. I just had to...
I know, it must be so difficult to keep track of them all.
It really is. Well, I believe that's our business concluded for now, but if you ever need a job, come look me up. I've always got all manners of capers.
And there's plenty more little fingers for me to break on the way as well.
Well, try not to break too many of my boys' fingers. He didn't mean no disrespect, he didn't know who you was.
Alright, well, it has been a pleasure. Julie, your kingship. No, she's just gonna walk out.
He does hold out his hand. It's very nice to meet you, Astrid.
Oh, she's gonna fist bump it. Walk out.
Yeah, he just, as you go up with a fist, he just does the same. And I think we will finish there. So you could all come back. Okay, there we go. Oof. So yes, as I did mention before, there is going to be a little bit more to this that will be put on. So there won't be a full outro or anything like that. We're just gonna, do a little quick shout out and then. If everyone would please, for the first time in a while, introduce themselves and talk about themselves, and then we'll get going.
I am Safi. I don't stream.
Yeah.
Millie.
I'm Millie. I don't stream either. I'm planning to, but I've been saying that since the beginning of this year, so don't trust me. Just follow me on Twitter.
The beginning of drifting, basically.
Fuck off. I've already read myself. You don't need to do it.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, I'm Tess, and you should go follow the two of them, Safi and
Shout
Amanda,
yourself
because they're
out.
both amazing.
Shout yourself out.
Okay. I do stream. I stream video games and keyboards and cats. Lots and lots of cats. Yeah, there's one staring at me right now, like really in real life. It's not just an AI. Yeah, lately I've been doing a lot of Beat Saber and keyboards and Horizon Forbidden West because it's freaking amazing. Yeah, just coming out. I tend to stream Saturdays and Sundays and then like one or two other weekday evenings. Sometimes I'll do a random morning stream. My morning streams are like the stream that never happens, basically. So yeah, evenings.
Sheepy.
I'm Sheepdog. I run the Wandering Inn. If you want to have all the details about how you can support the show and everything, I did it in the intro. Go watch that. We are going to head off because we have to record a little bit more, which will be on the full episode when it's released, probably tomorrow. So, without any ado and without anything else or anything along those lines, thank you for watching, everyone. I'm not sure how I'm going to edit this. It's going to be interesting. And we'll see you next week with Keeper, a D&D two-shot show. So got a fun couple of episodes coming up. Thanks, guys. See you later, and bye.
Bye.
Nomi, you are currently on the ship. Probably in your garden, or maybe in your quarters. It has been a rough trip to Sycharis. The Cornerstone people, for the most part, kept to themselves, but, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I feel like putting on that persona is kind of tiring.
No, not really.
Not for Nomi, yeah.
No, it's just
another
whatever. Like, I'd rather not, but
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. It's just the easiest way to get people to go away.
That's fair. And have you been especially on guard because there's been Cornerstone people on?
Yes, big
Okay.
time. It's why I've been spending so much time in the garden. That is more draining than the putting on a show,
Yeah.
because you're constantly. I think she'd got very used to being Nomi,
Yeah.
to just getting to be and having to keep an eye out constantly to who might be watching her. You can't just flick that switch in front of somebody else, you know?
It's like when you have guests staying at your house, you suddenly feel like you have to always be on show in
Yeah.
your own like comfort zone.
Yeah.
Which is it's kind of interesting and nice that Nomi considers the deep waters her comfort zone in a way. Because okay, so as the Cornerstone people have essentially disembarked and they will not be back, the crew have been basically preparing, getting ready to, there's been a couple of days of relaxation. And now it's like, okay, we've got another job on the way, we've got to go off and, and earn more money. So things are starting to pick up. Colton and Romy have headed off to the supply stores, picking more stuff up, all that type of thing. I would imagine being on Sycharis is kind of an interesting place. There are some kind of specialist plants and etc. Very resistant to disease and radiation and things like that, that do grow on Sycharis.
Ooh.
It's essentially because of the botched terraforming. Some of them have evolved to be a lot more hardy and a lot more etc.
Yeah, if there's any of that that's medicinal or edible,
Okay.
definitely be after seeds and saplings and stuff.
Okay. In that case, we will say that you have headed out. Maybe picked up a couple of interesting specialist items in terms of like seedlings and that type of thing. From where you're situated on Sycharis, it's a big enclosed kind of like port area. Because of the rain, because of the atmosphere, it has to be enclosed so that people can wander around and not have to wear masks all the time. And because of that, you've kind of like docked in a inside part of the port for this section of Sycharis. Going out essentially involves moving in between different ships and different docked places and going to like an elevator, taking, all that kind of thing. The elevator's a little bit away from where you are, so as you come back up the elevator, you have a bit of a ways to walk, around a couple of corners and make your way back to the ship. And so, it is during that walk back, as you're in between a couple of shuttles and a bigger like cargo ship, kind of going down a walkway back towards your ship, that in front of you, stepping out from one of the side lanes of one of the other ships, a person steps out, turns around to face you.
I think I'd be deliberately walking, kind of looking at the things that I bought and like flick my eyes up at this person. I'm trying to like covertly check them out while pretending to look at these seeds and stuff.
Okay. He is a he, and he is not concealing himself. It really depends. Like, is it a getting a proper look, or is it a seeing if they're a threat? You know, just kind of assessing.
Yeah, it's more assessing to start with. Like,
okay. In that case, could I get with a boon a melee roll? This can be melee with intellect or education.
Intellect or education, not dexterity.
For this one, this is more an assessment as opposed to
Okay, intellect then.
Okay. That is a 10. All right. Yeah, so as you kind of like pretend to be looking through your gear, you know, what you've bought, couple of bags and etc. You kind of like flick your eyes a couple of times just to like gauge the bearing and a threat assessment of the guy in front of you. So on the walkway, he is kind of planted so that you won't be able to move past him. He's like right in the center of the walkway. You might be able to like move to the side and get out of the way, but you also see that he has a, like, even before you go up like above the waist, he has a stance of someone who's essentially like trained and putting themselves in like not attack position, but like let's call it combat mode for the sake of argument. I wouldn't say necessarily you can be like, aha, a martial arts expert, but it's someone who has enough training to put themselves in the right position. And you hear a familiar voice that says, Ophelia. Or, well, I guess Nomi now.
I will kind of wag this bag in my hand like I just remembered the oven is on and spin in a circle and go straight back the way I came.
As you spin, you hear the walkway clatter as he like moves forward towards you.
I'll pick up the pace. Oof.
Okay. You feel his hand like clamp down on your shoulder and like stopping you from moving.
This isn't a walkway full of people?
No, it's just you and him.
Ooh. In that case, I'm going to spin with the movement of him grabbing me.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and slam his face into the nearest hard surface.
Yeah, as you like spin and your hand like comes around towards his face, his other hand catches yours, and you'll spin around and you're face to face with Rahikyo.
Ooh.
And he's got this very small little smile. Like, it's been a while since you've seen him. He's got some wrinkles on his eyes. His face is a bit more weathered. He looks like he's been through some stuff, but still looks like him. And he pushes your hand away and like leans back very slightly as he kicks into your stomach.
I will grab his ankle as he does that and pull him backwards.
Go pull him back with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, like you move backwards and his leg goes with you as you grab it and like pull backwards, and his hands immediately like let go of you and go to the railing and like hold him, so he goes forwards with you but stops, and you stop too. And he goes, not bad. And he like pulls his foot back suddenly and stands up and then goes into like a fairly familiar stance. Like you're not sure exactly why you know the stance or any, but you're like, it gives you like a twinge in the brain where you're like, oh. And he starts limbering up a bit.
What's this in aid of?
And he moves forward again and goes for a punch right on your face.
Ooh. I'm going to let him.
Okay.
I want to see if he actually can punch. Because this is possibly a very dumb fact-finding mission at this point.
Yeah, so the fist connects with your cheekbone, and like spins your head, and you kind of roll with it a little bit, so you reduce the damage slightly, but you feel like a cut in your lip, like a little bit of a tang of blood, and instead of the follow-up that you're expecting, he jumps back a couple of paces and goes on guard again.
What? Aren't you trying to win?
I'm not so stupid as to think I'm just going to win like that. I've been preparing, and he starts like stretching his arms again and his legs. I've been preparing for this for quite a while.
Are you sure you want to do this? Because I don't think you do.
Let's see, shall we? And he moves forwards towards you again in the stance. Do you make any move, or do you respond to him advancing at you again?
I'll plant my feet the exact same way he was.
Yeah.
On the walkway.
And
watching for any movement.
As he comes in closer, you see him like go back with his fist to throw another punch, and as the spring of the punch happens, his knee buckles, and for maybe for a split second you think that he's made a misstep or something. Then you realize that his knee is going for your knee to essentially like smash into and destabilize you, and the punch was actually a feint. So the knee like comes in towards your knee.
I will spin on my other leg to take that knee completely out of the way and actually kind of almost do a balletic spin and hop up in the air at the end of it and just go for a kick right to the base of his head.
Okay. Yeah, the kick comes around as his like knee goes forward. You kind of like connect with the back of his head. It doesn't make as much of a connection as you're expecting. As his head rolls forward, your foot kind of like, it hits, but it also slides off the top of his head as he's like moved his head down. What I can say from that interaction there when you attacked is, I'm not going to say he predicted it, but it wasn't him reacting. There was some level of expectation there, whether through training or knowledge.
I'll kind of land and watching him almost like bird-like.
You've been busy?
I did say that I've been preparing for this for a while.
Get bored with all your little friends.
I haven't seen my friends for a long time. So, do you prefer Nomi, or should we stick with Ophelia, seeing as that's how I knew you?
Do you prefer Nomi?
I think I do.
Well, in that case. And she'll launch at him.
Okay. What's she going for?
How far away are they?
So he moved back a bit, she moved back a bit, so it's probably like 6 or 7 meters or so.
She'll run as fast as she can towards him, and as she gets close, she's gonna drop down and slide on her back. Well, on her side, I guess. She's taking the height of it out at the last minute.
Kind of going for the ankles or shins. Okay, yeah. As she runs, he does react and kind of like go into that defensive kind of stance that he was in, but the slide takes him by surprise. Can I take it, just for a little bit of flair, that this is something that she is more hers, and also like it's not one of her kind of routines and standard combat practice. It's much more her in the moment doing a thing.
Well, he's just told me an awful lot in very few words. He thinks he knows me, so I need to stop doing everything I used to do.
So the kick hits his shins. He's taken by surprise. Even though he was on guard, the shin move got him. And at the same time, you see his reaction to it is enough to like kick his feet slightly off the ground, enough so that when your shins connect with when your feet connect with his shins, instead of kind of an uncontrolled spin getting all messed up, it's more controlled and his legs go up and he stays kind of a bit more horizontal, allowing him to essentially like kind of messily grab the railing and flip with the movement, so that by the time you've turned and raised up, he's kind of flipped around and landed and turned back towards you. Not that you didn't do any damage, but he minimized it to a certain degree.
I'll just land and watch him.
All right.
Are you going to do some more stretching?
No. And he moves in and he starts with a combo of like they're short, they're quick, and they're like jabs and they're movements. And I'm gonna carry on off the roll you made for basically the melee insight. Basically what he's doing now is he's not trying to hit you necessarily. If he hits you, it's a bonus. He is essentially a mixture of what you think is probably testing himself and also gathering data about you. If you dodge, if you block, whatever it is, it's hard to explain, but he's trying to figure out how much he can stand up to you.
I think all her defenses against these, none of them are aggressive. It's all redirecting his movement just away.
And it's like fist comes in, slapped away. Yeah. You know, occasionally there's like a kick and she like stands on it and moves back, or like blocks it with her leg so the leg goes to the side. and it's kind of like for a good 30 seconds, it is this movement and this kind of like him attacking, Nomi defending, moving back, just along the walkway, like kind of closer to your destination, but you're not that close to the destination anyway, so.
If at any point she's got the opportunity, if he's got facial hair, she's going to block with one hand and pull his facial hair with the other one.
He
just
does,
like a little tweak.
Have facial hair, unfortunately.
God damn it. Boo. Just regular hair then.
Going
Give
for
it a tweak.
Going for a hair pull?
No, just like almost like it's playing.
Okay.
It's like teasing, like I can do this with one hand and tease you. Ha.
All right. So yeah, there's a point where he's actually quite good. Definitely been training, and again, that style is something where you're like, it's like a little itch in your head. It's annoying. And it's like hit, block, and there's a moment where his concentration slips. He's not super trained. He does have lapses, and you use that lapse to essentially block both of his hands at once, and you just reach out, tweak his nose. And then he kind of breaks away, because obviously it's just one hand, it's not a really strong grip. He breaks away and back, and kind of like his stance is a little bit more cautious.
What, don't you play?
I wasn't aware you did. I always got the impression that you're a lot more merciless.
Who taught you?
A master found me out. Helped me out a little bit. Saw I was drowning. And now, I think it might be enough to finally get my revenge.
Who?
Beat me and I'll tell you. And he moves in, and again, he goes for a punch. Same motion he did before, and then his leg starts to buckle. Like, it looks like he's going for the same thing. As he goes down in that direction, he also comes up with his fist aimed at the stomach again. It's like a gut punch, but more of like an uppercut. Essentially, he's chaining these feints into each other, trying to make it seem like, oh, I'm doing the same move. No, I'm not.
She'll pivot and get one, as this fist comes up in the uppercut, get one hand underneath his elbow and raise it up as high as she can while her leg sweeps his legs from underneath him.
And his leg like gets swept, and he kind of crashes against the crashes against the side of the thing, and like holds himself up, kind of rolls himself down and away, like away from your direction, and unless you follow up with like an attack, he's going to right himself. And
no, I'll follow up with that.
Okay, how are you following up?
I'm going to slam my foot onto his knee.
Okay. So he's rolling, you're slamming the foot. So as you like bring your foot down, he essentially like the rolling has so his legs are kind of like that. He like splits them. So your foot like goes in between his legs, and then his legs close, and he essentially uses his own like momentum as he's spinning to flip you forward and over him.
As he's doing that, I'm going to hook my arm around his neck. So I've kind of got him around the throat. So if he tries to throw me, he's strangling himself.
Interesting.
Like locked now.
Yes, so that will be both of you tumbling to the to the walkway, the floor of the walkway, like metal crashing. You're locked around his neck. He's locked around your leg.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna start pushing my thumb up into his esophagus.
Oh, the second you got your hand around his neck, like. Do you remember last time you had a fight and there was the block with the chin?
Mm-hmm.
Same move, block with the chin. So you basically, like, your hand goes around his neck a little bit, but his chin blocks that thumb going into the neck.
All right, then I instantly shift my hand upwards so that my fingers are going into his eyes.
At that point, I think he's going to like. How's he going to? So he's going to basically release your leg and push instead, like, against you. So he's pushing away. So as those fingers are digging into his eyes, you're essentially being pushed away. It's harder to apply the pressure. And he, how hard are you locking in? Would he be able to push out of the lock?
I mean, he's trying to kill me as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
So.
Essentially, his goal here is not to attack; it's to get out. So.
If he's definitely trying to break, and he's just trying to push me off, yeah, I'll let him.
Okay. So he pushes. Your grip relaxes enough for him to escape, but enough to kind of lock him in if he goes for anything aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And he slips out and he rolls away, you roll away, you both stand up facing each other again. I guess a few years of training aren't exactly enough for a lifetime of nothing else.
Very humble of you.
Well, and he kind of steps over the railing of the walkway and kind of puts both of his legs over, and it looks for a second like he's just got to drop down, into the hangar from a height. He actually just jumps a little hop over onto a platform where there's a shuttle. The shuttle is open. The back flap of it is open like that. And as he hops, he says, "We must all know our limitations. And I don't think I'm ready to beat you by myself just yet. But next time, I'll bring a friend." And he starts walking towards the gangway.
Who taught you?
You'll meet him soon. And as he says that, he's started to walk up the walkway of the shuttle. The shuttle roars into life. The engines kind of blow a bit of air past you. They're a lot higher than you, but the engines still kind of blow air around that way. And the walkway, the entry to the shuttle starts to raise. And as the walkway starts to raise, he gets inside, stops, turns around, and it's hard for you to tell exactly the expression on his face, but as the walkway closes past his face like that, his expression softens a little bit. And there's what seems like maybe a more genuine smile. And you hear him say, "See you again soon, Nomi." And the walkway closes, shuttle lifts off, away.
She'll just stand there in the walkway, frozen for a very long time. trying to make sense of that, trying to figure out what it is she's feeling. And eventually just give up and walk back to the ship.
As she's walking towards the ship, replayed in her head is "See you again soon, Nomi." You want to go back to the ship?
No. No, I can't bring that there.
In that case, I assume there's only one thing Nomi wants to do right now.
I'll head to the part of the hangar where you can hire transport.
Okay. And you head there. You got some money. You've got a bank account. You may not want to use it, but you do have enough money on hand to get you a quick trip somewhere else. You know, draw some money out, go somewhere else, hire a ship, etc., etc. And you hire a ship. Where are you going? Home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have to.
You hire a ship, headed in the direction of home.